Welcome back everyone to another video. Today I'm going to give you the 3 ingredients to make your punches more powerful. My martial art is obviously karate, but this is going to apply to anyone who throws punches, because the mechanics required in a punch is the same regardless of the martial art that you're doing. You know, our bodies only work in so many ways. So, you know, punches are punches, and what makes a better punch makes a better punch for everyone. So let's get into it. So the 3 ingredients are, number 1, technique. Without good technique, the punches are going to have no power, because we need to be mechanically sound with our technique in order to deliver that power. Number 2 is the actual power, you know, the strength or the conditioning to make the power. And number 3 is the condition of the weapon or the hand in order to transfer that power into a strong punch and land on the target without damage to yourself. So number 1 then, technique. We must make sure, and again I'm talking from a karate perspective, but as I said, it doesn't matter too much what martial art we come from. The same rules apply. We must make sure that the arm is lined up correctly with the shoulder and through the hip, and we are generating force through the hip into the target to make good technique. So some of the common mistakes that I see when people are doing their karate or their punches is they're kind of flicking elbows out to the sides, you know, this way, flicking the elbows out and making a punch like this. We want to keep the elbows close to the body, and we want to be sending from a close position here. Hooks, of course, are different, but we can come to that in just a second. But I'm talking for the moment, straight punches. We want to make them as direct as possible with as little telegraph as possible. The more direct it is, the more speed we can have and the more power we can generate due to that increased amount of speed. So one thing I talk about a lot in karate, especially when I'm coaching, is the importance of a strong stance. Okay, in order for us to deliver something strong up here, we need to have a strong foundation down there. So what I want to be thinking about then is a nice balanced position. You know, I'm not too narrow where I'm going to throw myself off balance. I'm wide enough to have a good, stable, strong position with the ground. And I'm also just putting pressure on the balls of my feet so I can press through the floor this way. Okay, I don't want to be sitting back on my heels, sending my hips back, and then obviously as a result bringing my body forwards. I want to be sitting here into a stance, and I can press through the ground in order to make my power in my punch. So when I'm teaching, I kind of almost use the idea that I'm hitting them with the floor. I'm pushing the floor away and then transferring into that punch as a result. So the energy is kind of pushed through the ground here, through the ground as a result, through the hip, through the shoulder, and into the punch at the end. So that's my kind of chain of events that I'm trying to teach in order to make as much power in that punch as we can possibly get. The second part of technique then, of course, is alignment of the wrist. If we are landing with the punch on the wrist is flexed up or downwards, we're going to end up buckling our wrist. And no matter how powerful the punch is, if we're buckling that wrist at the end, the damage is going to be on us and not them. So we must make sure that the wrist is straight. Now we have a good straight position on that hand. Everything is aligned down the shoulder. There's no kind of kinks along the way, you know, along that chain. We don't want to have anything kind of sticking back out here, you know, shoulder back. So we're sort of sending energy in the wrong direction. Everything wants to be nicely lined up with that stance, with that hip, with that shoulder, and then into the wrist at the end. For a punch with no gloves, a bare knuckle punch, I want to be landing with my first 2 knuckles, okay, the first 2. Okay, so making sure that that's what's landing on the target. And then again, as I said, everything lined up nicely and correctly. Another aspect of technique is also timing. We have to time the punch correctly. Okay, so it's no good just kind of whipping the hip and then the arm comes out afterwards. There are a number of ways that people teach this, and different styles will have different kind of ideas. What I like to think of really though is to start from here maybe. The hand starts to go first, because I don't want to show anything before I start moving, right? So my hand starts sending towards the target. And just as it's about to land, I kick that hip in now, because that's when I want the power. I want the power in them, you know, in the target. So the hand starts flying out first with nothing, no resistance at all, no kind of power. It starts sending out here, and then the hip connects at the last second. That's when the power, for me, happens, okay? An alternative to that is actually that whipping action. Hip and then hand second. For me, I prefer the first, but the second works as well. So the second area that we need to develop in order to make our punches more powerful after taking care of technique is the power in our body, in our strength. specifically, I'm going to go over rotational exercises because I've got other videos on this channel covering full body kind of training in the gym, which of course is of benefit. But I'm going to talk about rotating or rotational exercises right now. So what I'm going to do is anchor a band to a bar or the wall or something. And from here, I'm going to make the action. So I'm going to get into my stance position here. And I just want to get this action where I'm rotating against the resistance. Okay, just getting that rotation here. Just fast rotation, almost mimicking the chain of actions that we're doing in our punching technique. Okay, so from here, I'm just rotating here against that resistance. Okay. Another option or other options is to do what's called a Palov press, where I'm coming to the center here, pulling the band up and then extending. So now I'm fighting the band against resistance. So I don't want to let it drag me this way. I want to pull into the center, stretch the band out and extend whilst fighting the urge for it to pull me back like this. Okay, so I'm here and then extending. So what this is doing is training all the muscles of the obliques and the core, the muscles of the midsection basically, to be stronger for absorbing strikes and for also delivering strikes. Yeah, that rotational power is important when we're throwing punches. In addition to this, of course, all the stuff that we do in the gym that I've spoken about before, the heavy squats, the Bulgarian split squats, the Romanian deadlifts, pull-ups, all these kind of motions are going to benefit your punching power as well. So the third area to cover then, if we want to make a strong or powerful punches, is the solid condition of our knuckles. Okay, especially if we're not using gloves in our martial art, if we're doing bare knuckle especially, right? But still applies, for boxers, having strong wrists and all this stuff is important still. So first thing I can be doing is some press ups on my knuckles. Very basic exercise to just get the knuckles used to that connection with something. Okay, what this does is it trains us to have a good straight wrist position as well, because we obviously can't do this with a buckled wrist. So this takes care a little bit of the technique that we were talking about earlier. So what we can do is simply knuckle push-ups, first of all. Secondly, what I like to do, especially on the mats like this, where it's a little bit more forgiving, is I can come down, drive up, and then punch into the mat. Down, up, punch into the mat. Just getting those first two knuckles connecting with the mat each time, okay? So we can start off gradually with that. You ain't got to start smashing it as hard as you can to begin with. Just get the knuckles used to the connection and then progress from there. Other ideas are, of course, like a makiwara, which I use in my home gym, or sandbags, like Wing Chun will use more of a sandbag, like a wall-mounted sandbag, or just simply pads and bags, hitting things with the bare knuckles, trying to get them used to that impact. So if we have a target here, we can, like I've said before, I like to start sometimes building my technique up from the end and then coming back. So I like to find my connection point here with the target. So feel like, get the feeling of what it feels like to land the technique first, then reverse it back out and then try and find that position again. Okay, so find that connection point and just start building up and just understand how that feels to make that punch. I'm starting off slowly at the moment. This is a very soft pad, so it's not overly conditioned, but we can start building up the punch from here once we understand how it's meant to feel this way. So hopefully that's given you a few different ideas. A little recap very quickly. The 3 areas in order to improve our punching power is, first of all, technique. Secondly, strength and physical power. And the third one is conditioning the hand to transfer that power into the target at the end of the punch. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to leave me a comment down below. Let me know what else you'd like to see on this channel, and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.